Is DoorDash the next side hustle to collapse? With an economy that's continuing to tighten, with Uber paying couriers less and less and actively looking to reduce cost per trip per their CEO, with the drivers of said platform noticing less and less and less bonus pay. So this year, while we're not going to probably see a complete collapse of the company per se, might we see a weakened DoorDash as a reliable side hustle? And I'll tell you, there have been platforms and side hustle options that have collapsed. There's been Sidecar. There's been Amazon Restaurants, which I drove for. There was Cargo, which I've used, which was an official partner for Uber. And we'll just include Lyft on this platform that's kind of treading water right now. So here's the deal. I'm going to go over the pros and the most updated cons and an ultimate verdict of looking for 2023. Again, is this going to be a weakened side hustle? So number one, the pros. What is strengthening, I'll say, DoorDash for Dashers as a side hustle? Well, I'll tell you, I feel like they're doing a lot to give you options at least to earn. Okay, there's package pickup, there's Dash Marts, there's grocery, there's shop and deliver, there's cash on delivery, there's earn by time, earn by order, priority access, top dasher, routed deliveries, DoorDash Drive, alcohol, tobacco, and pharmacy deliveries. I'll say the platform certainly has a lot of options. And I'll say, as someone who does weekly, daily research on these side hustle companies for you, I look at their respective newsrooms basically daily, and I'll tell you, it seems like DoorDash is doing a lot as far as adding new options, bolstering new partnerships, more so, let's say, than Uber. And that makes me think of the aforementioned Lyft, the rideshare company that really hasn't been doing that, hasn't been adding big new features. And this article from the New York Times cites that, and that's in part why they're struggling so much. But another thing that DoorDash is doing well, actually for the past, I'd say 3 years or so, is taking away market share from Uber and other competitors. I mean, here in 2023, they have over a 60% market share, 65%, at least by monthly sales here. But it's not all just order options. It's not just taking market share away from the competition, because that's good for the company, but we're talking about you as a Dasher. So what are some weak points specifically for you as a Dasher this year? Just a couple of quarters ago, DoorDash highlighted, actually similarly to Uber, that they've reduced the cost per trip. That cost coming from you, the Dasher. We can see here reported Q3 2022 letter to investors, total Dasher costs per order declined quarter over quarter and year over year. And we see the distinction of what total Dasher costs include, which includes Dasher pay. Now, looking at this objectively, taking a step back, I understand, Uber, DoorDash, and these companies need to actually show profitability, need to actually succeed for there to actually be a platform to work on. Again, a la Amazon Restaurants that closed. But another negative, I believe it was Q1 2021, if I'm remembering correctly, the company removing their Dasher segments in their letter to investors that I just cited here. So they would typically have a word about consumer developments in that quarter, the marketplace, the restaurant and the like developments in the quarter, and then the Dasher developments and stats in the quarter. And that's been removed for some time. Okay, let's continue. Well, what about at the end of 2022, not long ago, CEO Tony Xu announcing layoffs of the company, 1,250 to be exact. Kind of a correction from a possible overhiring during pandemic demand here, so let me know if you agree with that. Turning it back to you, the Dasher, I'm thinking of that video that we did on Uber Eats talking about less surge pay. And I mean, we even cited some comments in this video of drivers, and this is why I made the video, because I didn't even see surge pay here in Pittsburgh for some time. I'm betting, comment down below, but drivers are seeing the same kind of thing on DoorDash. Like, is your peak pay? It used to be $3 on the weekends. Now it's $2 or $1.50, something like that. So I feel like there's this constant worrying of when is that going to happen? Because again, it's not just Uber. DoorDash has said the same thing in their quarterly earnings calls. Let's actually talk about that. Because in a month or so, we're going to hear from Tony Xu and their leadership team at DoorDash about Q1, and I'm betting it's going to continue to talk about the minimal amount of times that they talk about Dashers, just reductions in Dasher costs. So what I would do is I would take action. If you're not taking action, I'll tell you that it's to always diversify. Maybe Uber Eats is good in your marketplace. That there's Grubhub. I know Grubhub's smaller, but you have that. Possibly regional options as well. And really, for DoorDash at least, look at the different market segments. I mean, this is what I did in San Diego. I did my research on my current zone versus some other zones that I felt like would be really good. And they weren't too far away, like 10, 12, 15 minutes maximum. But if it's worth it to go in a different zone, you can do that experimentation. Now, understandably, if you're in a small, medium-sized marketplace, you really have to consider, are there big enough other market segments on DoorDash? Next, I know it's not everyone's favorite, but I would look at diversifying into other revenue streams. So I know a lot of drivers are driving, not a lot, part-time, paying off a debt, saving up for a purchase, just getting some extra spending money. But if you're doing this to lily pad to another business opportunity, or you plan on doing this for more than 6 months, I think you'll still be okay. Generally, I do after 6 months. Again, you're going to have to look at your data as well. We have an earnings tracking spreadsheet at yourdrivermike.com, so you can kind of closely track some of those metrics there. But I'm a big fan of what you have more control over. Ideally, not trading the time for the money, but some kind of investments, starting the business, selling a product, course, or service, real estate, something else, obviously, of course. Obviously, once we're taking care of everything that's mandatory, right? The basic cost of living expenses, paying off a really, really high credit card debt, I've been there, and the like, right? So there's that kind of piece of the pie here. I need the money for this. But if you have some liquidity, you're doing this for just some capital, extra money, or ideally another business venture, I would look at one of those other options. Also monetizing on socials as well. If socials is going to be one of your things, we just launched our course, Mastering YouTube. We have a 40% off limited time launch special because of that. It is 7 hours, 55 video modules, a 7-week action plan follow-up to keep you on track. Use code LAUNCH at checkout for 40% off. That is a limited time deal. If you're interested in monetizing on YouTube, you want the A to Z course, how to start, dominate, grow. Even if you're already doing YouTube right now, get that course, yourdrivermike.com/YouTube.